Welcome to Speak English Confident. I'm Nora, and I'm really happy you're here today. Today, we're talking about something very real, something many English learners feel but don't always say out loud. Speaking English when you feel shy around new people. Maybe your English is not bad. Maybe you understand movies, YouTube videos, or your teacher. But when you meet someone new, your confidence suddenly disappears. Your heart beats faster, your mind becomes empty, and simple English feels difficult. Miles is here with me today.
Hi, everyone. Yes, this topic is very personal for me. I feel okay speaking English alone. I even talk to myself sometimes. But when I meet a new person, especially a confident English speaker, I suddenly feel small.
That feeling is extremely common. Many learners think their problem is grammar or vocabulary, but often the real problem is emotion. Today, we're going to understand that feeling, and more importantly, learn how to speak even when you feel shy. Miles, can you describe what happens inside you when you meet someone new?
Okay. First, I start thinking too much. I worry about my accent. I worry about mistakes. I worry they will judge me. And then I try to create perfect sentences in my head. But while I'm thinking, the conversation already moves on.
Yes, that moment is very important. You are not shy because you don't know English. You become shy because your brain switches from communication mode to protection mode.
Protection mode.
Exactly. Your brain wants to protect you from embarrassment. So it says, be careful, don't make mistakes, stay quiet. And silence feels safer than speaking.
Yes, silence feels safe. But later I regret it. I go home thinking, why didn't I talk more?
And many listeners probably feel the same right now. Let's imagine a simple real-life situation. You arrive at a small gathering, maybe a work event, maybe a language meetup, maybe a friend introduces you to someone. The person smiles and says, "Hi, nice to meet you." Very simple, but inside you panic.
Yes, my brain immediately searches for the perfect reply.
Let's slow that moment down together. When someone says, "Hi, nice to meet you," you do not need perfect English. You only need connection. Here are natural replies. "Nice to meet you too." "I'm happy to meet you." "Nice meeting you." Simple, warm, human.
But sometimes I think my answer sounds boring.
Let me tell you something important. Native speakers do not look for impressive English. They look for comfortable energy. If you smile and answer simply, the conversation already succeeds.
So, simple is powerful?
Yes, very powerful. Shy learners often believe speaking well means speaking a lot, but confident speakers actually do something different. They focus on small, easy exchanges. Let's practice together. Imagine someone asks, "Where are you from?" Miles, answer naturally.
I would say, I'm from Cambodia.
Perfect. Now add one small extra sentence.
Maybe I'm from Cambodia, I live in Phnom Penh.
Excellent. See, conversation grows slowly. You don't need long speeches. You build comfort step by step. Many learners freeze because they think every answer must be interesting. But conversation is like tennis. You send the ball, they send it back. Short exchanges create rhythm.
I think I try to finish the whole conversation in one sentence.
Yes, many learners do that. They prepare a full paragraph in their head, but real conversation is not a presentation, it's cooperation. Let's explore another emotional moment. You meet someone confident. They speak fast English. They seem relaxed. What happens inside you?
Honestly, I feel inferior. I think my English is not good enough for this person.
Thank you for saying that honestly. Many learners compare themselves immediately, but here is a mindset shift. Confident speakers are not testing you. They are simply talking. They are not grading your English. They are not checking your grammar. They just want communication.
But what if I don't understand something they say?
Beautiful question. This is where confidence is built. Instead of pretending you understand, try these sentences. Sorry, could you say that again? Can you speak a little slower? I didn't catch that. These sentences are powerful. They show courage.
Sometimes I feel embarrassed asking people to repeat.
Let's change that feeling. Asking for repetition is not weakness, it is active communication. Even native speakers say, "Sorry, what was that? Say again?" Understanding takes teamwork. Now I want listeners to imagine a scene. You're at a coffee shop. You sit next to someone. You want to practice English, but you feel shy. Your mind says, "Don't disturb them. My English isn't good. They won't want to talk." Miles, does this sound familiar?
Very familiar. I create many excuses.
Let's try a gentle opening line. You don't need a big reason. You can simply say, "Hi, is this seat free?" Or, "Hi, are you working or studying?" Simple curiosity opens conversation.
But what if they answer shortly?
That's normal. Conversation is shared responsibility. Your job is only to open the door. Not every conversation becomes long, and that's okay. Confidence grows from trying, not from success every time. Now I want listeners to try something with us. Take a slow breath. Imagine meeting someone tomorrow. Not a perfect conversation, just a small one. You say hello, you answer one question, you ask one question back. That is already success.
I think many learners wait until they feel confident before speaking.
Yes, and that's the trap. Confidence does not come first. Action comes first. Confidence follows experience. Every small conversation teaches your brain, "I survived. I can do this again." And slowly, shyness becomes familiarity.
I like that idea of surviving conversations.
Exactly. You don't need to shine. You just need to stay in the conversation. And something beautiful happens over time. The situation that once scared you becomes normal. Meeting new people becomes easier. Your English becomes more natural. Not because you studied harder, but because you connected more. Miles, I already feel calmer just talking about this. That's the power of understanding your emotions. Language learning is not only vocabulary and grammar, it's courage, it's patience, it's kindness toward yourself. Let's continue exploring this together.
You know, Nora, something interesting happens to me after I finally start talking. At the beginning, I feel nervous. My voice sounds strange to me. I think every sentence is wrong. But after maybe 5 minutes, I relax. Why does that happen?
That's a beautiful observation. Your brain needs time to realize you are safe. At first, your mind treats English conversation like danger. New person, new language, uncertainty. Your body reacts with stress. But once the conversation continues and nothing bad happens, your brain updates the situation. It says, "Oh, this is okay."
So the first few minutes are the hardest.
Exactly. Many learners quit mentally during those first moments. They think, "I'm bad at English," when actually they just haven't passed the warm-up stage. Think about exercise. The first minutes feel uncomfortable. Your body feels heavy, but after warming up, movement becomes easier. Conversation works the same way.
That makes sense. Sometimes I escape conversations too early.
Yes, and today we'll learn how to stay inside the conversation long enough for comfort to arrive. Let's explore another real-life situation. You join a group conversation. Maybe coworkers talking during lunch, maybe classmates chatting before class, maybe friends of friends at a party. Group conversations are especially scary for shy learners.
Oh yes, group conversations are my nightmare. People speak fast, they laugh together, and I don't know when to speak.
You are not alone. Group conversations follow invisible rules that many learners never learn. Today, I'll teach you 3 simple strategies. First strategy, Listen for entry moments. You do not need to speak immediately. Listen for a pause. When someone finishes speaking, there is usually a small silence. That silence is an invitation. You can enter with a short comment like, "Really? That's interesting," or, "Oh, I had a similar experience."
So I don't need a long story.
No, a small reaction is enough to join the group. Let's practice. Imagine people are talking about travel. Someone says, "I visited Thailand last year." Your entry could be, "I've always wanted to go there," or "I went there once too." Simple participation builds presence.
I think I wait for the perfect moment, and then the moment disappears.
Yes, perfection blocks participation. Conversation rewards timing, not perfection. Second strategy, use agreement language. Agreement makes you part of the social energy. Try phrases like, "Exactly," "I agree," "That's true," "Same here." These small phrases show connection even if your vocabulary feels limited.
That sounds easier than creating new sentences.
Exactly. You are contributing emotionally, not academically. Now, the third strategy, and this is powerful for shy learners. Ask follow-up questions to the group. Instead of competing for attention, you become the connector. For example, "What was your favorite part of the trip?" Or, "Did anyone else try that?" People appreciate the person who keeps conversation moving.
So even quiet people can become important in conversations.
Absolutely. Confidence is not loudness. Confidence is participation. Some of the most respected communicators speak calmly and simply. Let's move into another emotional challenge. Many learners tell me, "I translate everything in my head before speaking." Miles, do you do that?
All the time. I think in my language first, then translate into English. Sometimes the conversation moves too fast, and I miss my chance to speak.
That happens because translation slows your brain. Your thoughts travel a long road, idea to native language to English to speak. We want to shorten that road.
But how can I stop translating?
You don't stop immediately. You replace translation with simple English thinking. Start thinking using small English chunks. Instead of forming complex ideas, think basic ones. "I agree." "That's funny." "I like that." "I'm not sure." These ready-made phrases help you respond instantly.
So I prepare reactions, not speeches.
Exactly. Fluent speakers rely on hundreds of small automatic phrases. They don't build sentences from zero every time. Let's practice emotional reactions together. I'll say a situation and you respond naturally. Ready?
Ready.
Someone tells you they worked all weekend.
Oh, wow, that sounds tiring.
Excellent. Someone says they are learning to cook.
That's nice. What do you like cooking?
Perfect. Notice how conversation continues naturally when you react emotionally instead of searching for perfect grammar.
I realize I often focus on correctness more than connection.
And that's the biggest shift shy learners must make. Language exists for human connection. Correct grammar helps, but emotional response creates conversation. Now, let's talk about fear of mistakes. Many listeners might think, "If I make mistakes, people will think I'm not smart."
Yes, that fear is very real.
Let me share an important truth. When you speak a second language, mistakes are expected. They are not surprising. They are evidence of effort. In fact, people often admire someone speaking another language. They see courage, not weakness.
But sometimes people correct me, and I feel embarrassed.
That depends on how correction happens. Some corrections are helpful, but your emotional reaction matters more. Try thinking, "This person is helping me improve," not "I failed." Let's transform correction into learning. If someone says, "Oh, you mean went, not goed," you can respond, "Ah, thank you." Then continue speaking. Do not stop the conversation to judge yourself. Momentum is more important than perfection.
I usually replay my mistakes in my head afterwards.
Many learners do that. After conversation, instead of criticizing yourself, ask 3 gentle questions. What did I do well? When did I feel comfortable? What new word did I learn? Reflection builds confidence. Self-criticism destroys it. Now, I want to introduce something powerful called microconfidence.
Microconfidence?
Yes, big confidence feels impossible sometimes, but small confidence moments are achievable. Examples: you said hello first, you asked one question, you stayed in conversation for 2 minutes. Each small success trains your brain.
So confidence grows like muscle training.
Exactly. Repeated small victories change your identity. You stop thinking, I'm a shy English learner, and start thinking, I'm someone who can talk. Let's imagine another real scenario. You attend an English class. Before class starts, people chat casually. This moment is perfect practice. You don't need deep topics. Try safe conversation starters, like, is this your first time here? Or, how long have you been learning English? Or, do you find this class difficult? These questions are friendly and natural.
I like those because everyone can answer them.
Yes, shared situations reduce pressure. Now, let's talk about silence. Many shy learners fear silence during conversation. They think silence means failure, but silence is natural. Even native speakers pause. If silence appears, try these bridges. So, what do you usually do on weekends? Or, by the way, have you watched any good movies recently? Or, I'm curious, how did you start learning English? Conversation can restart anytime.
I always thought good speakers never experience silence.
No, even professional speakers experience silence. They simply guide the conversation back gently. Now, I want listeners to practice something powerful. Instead of trying to impress people, try to make people comfortable. Comfort creates connection faster than impressive vocabulary. Speak slowly, use simple words, show interest. People remember how they felt talking to you, not how advanced your grammar was.
That changes everything. I always tried to sound advanced.
Advanced communication is actually simple communication done warmly. Let's do a longer role play. You meet someone at a networking event. I'll start. Hi, I'm Nora.
Hi, Nora. I'm Miles. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. What do you do?
I work in marketing. How about you?
I teach English communication.
Oh, interesting. How long have you been teaching?
Perfect follow-up question. Notice what Miles did. He didn't try to impress, he stayed curious. Conversation flows naturally when curiosity leads.
I feel something changing while practicing this. It feels manageable.
That word is important. Conversation does not need to feel amazing. It only needs to feel manageable. And when something feels manageable, your brain allows you to try again. Shyness slowly loses power because each experience proves you can handle interaction.
I think many listeners needed to hear that today.
Yes, you are not alone in feeling shy. You are simply human, learning to connect.
Nora, can I tell you something honest? Sometimes I prepare English sentences before going somewhere. I imagine conversations in my head, but when the real moment comes, people say something unexpected, and then I freeze again.
That is a very human experience. Preparation helps, but real conversation is always alive and unpredictable. You cannot control what people will say. So instead of preparing exact sentences, we prepare flexible responses.
Flexible responses.
Yes, think of them as conversation tools instead of scripts. Let's talk about one powerful tool, the reaction plus question pattern. This pattern keeps conversation moving even when you feel nervous. Step 1, react. Step 2, ask a question. For example, someone says, I just started a new job. Your reaction, oh, congratulations. Then your question, how is it going so far? Simple, natural, human.
That feels easier than thinking about long answers.
Exactly. You don't need to carry the whole conversation. You only need to respond and invite. Let's practice several real-life situations listeners may face. Imagine you are meeting a coworker for the first time. They say, "I moved here recently." Your reaction could be, "Oh, welcome." Then your question, "What do you think of the city?"
I see the pattern now. React emotionally first, then ask something.
Yes, emotion connects people faster than information. Now let's explore a deeper emotional struggle many shy learners experience: fear of awkward moments.
I'm very afraid of awkward moments. Sometimes conversation stops and I feel responsible.
Let's change how you see awkwardness. Awkward moments are not failures, they're simply pauses where both people are thinking. Silence does not mean you did something wrong. In fact, comfortable people allow silence to exist.
So I don't need to panic when silence appears?
Exactly. You can breathe, smile, and gently restart conversation. Here are soft restart phrases. So, what do you usually do after work? I've been meaning to ask. Or, that reminds me. These phrases feel natural and relaxed. Now, I want to talk about something emotional. Many shy learners feel they have a quiet personality. They believe confident speaking belongs only to extroverts.
Yes, I always thought confident speakers were naturally outgoing.
But confidence in English is not personality, it is familiarity. Introverts can be excellent communicators because they listen deeply. They ask thoughtful questions. They create meaningful conversations. You do not need to become loud or energetic. You only need to become comfortable expressing yourself.
That's comforting. I don't want to change who I am.
And you don't need to. English learning is not about changing identity. It is about expanding expression. Let's explore another real-life situation. You are invited to join colleagues for lunch. Everyone is chatting easily. You worry you cannot keep up. What can you do? First, listen actively. Find one topic you understand, maybe food, movies, travel, daily life. Then enter with a small comment. Example, "I love that restaurant too." "I watched that movie recently." Or, "I've never tried that before." Small participation creates belonging.
I often wait until I have something very smart to say.
That's a heavy pressure. Conversation is not a competition for intelligence. It is shared presence. Let's talk about another fear: speaking with people who are much more fluent.
Yes, when someone speaks very fast English, I feel intimidated.
Here is an important mindset shift. Fluent speakers are not ahead of you on a ladder, they are simply further along a journey you are also walking. Instead of comparing, try learning from interaction. You can even say, "Your English is very clear. I'm still learning, so please speak slowly." Most people respond kindly when you communicate your needs.
I never thought about saying that directly.
Honesty reduces pressure. When expectations are clear, your anxiety decreases. Now let's practice handling moments when you don't understand vocabulary. Someone says a word you don't know. Instead of withdrawing, try curiosity. You can ask, "What does that mean? I'm not familiar with that word. Could you explain?" Each unknown word becomes learning inside real communication.
I usually just smile and pretend I understand.
Many learners do that, but pretending blocks growth. Real confidence comes from staying engaged even when confused. Now let's move into an important speaking practice. I want listeners to imagine entering a small social event. We will build conversation step by step. You walk in, you see one person standing nearby. You smile and say, "Hi, I don't think we've met before." This sentence is powerful. It is polite, friendly, and natural.
That sounds less scary than starting a deep conversation.
Yes, then they introduce themselves. You respond, "Nice to meet you." Then ask, "What do you know the host?" Or, "What brings you here today?" Notice how each step is small. Confidence grows from manageable steps. Now let's explore emotional recovery. Sometimes conversations don't go well. Maybe you misunderstand something, maybe your words come out wrong, maybe the conversation ends quickly. What should you do afterward?
Usually, I feel embarrassed for hours.
Gently replace embarrassment with learning reflection. Try saying to yourself, "That was practice, not success, not failure, practice." Every conversation adds experience to your communication memory. Your brain learns patterns unconsciously.
So even uncomfortable conversations help me improve?
Yes, especially uncomfortable ones. Growth often feels awkward before it feels natural. Now I want to introduce something called conversation anchors. These are topics you feel comfortable discussing. Everyone should have 3 or 4 anchors ready. Examples: your hometown, your hobbies, your favorite food, your work or studies. Prepare simple sentences about these topics. When conversation reaches familiar ground, your confidence increases.
I like talking about movies and food. Those feel safe.
Perfect. Let's build a movie anchor together. Someone asks, "What do you do in your free time?" You can say, "I enjoy watching movies, especially action films. Recently I watched." Then ask, "What kind of movies do you like?" Conversation becomes balanced.
I noticed that asking questions saves me again.
Yes, questions reduce pressure because communication becomes shared. Now let's talk about voice confidence. Many shy learners speak too softly. They worry about pronunciation, so they reduce volume. But low volume actually makes conversation harder. Try speaking slightly louder than your comfort level, not shouting, just clear and present. Your brain interprets strong voice as confidence.
So body and voice can change emotion?
Absolutely. Communication works both ways. Your feelings influence your voice, and your voice influences your feelings. Let's try a speaking exercise together. Listeners, repeat after me naturally. "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm happy to be here." That sounds interesting. Can you tell me more? Speak slowly. Feel your voice moving comfortably.
I feel calmer practicing like this.
Practice removes fear of starting. The beginning of conversation is often the biggest obstacle. Once conversation begins, human connection takes over. Now I want to address a hidden fear many learners carry: fear of being boring.
Yes, I worry people will think I'm boring because my English is simple.
Let me share a secret. People rarely remember complex vocabulary. They remember sincerity. If you listen well, smile, and respond kindly, people enjoy talking with you. Interesting people are not those who speak perfectly. They are those who make others feel heard.
That changes my idea of communication completely.
Good, because confident English is not performance, it is presence. You don't need to entertain, you only need to participate. Let's imagine another real scenario. You are waiting in line somewhere. A person next to you comments, "This line is long today." This is a social invitation. You can respond, "Yes, it's very busy today," or "I hope it moves quickly." Small shared moments create practice opportunities everywhere.
So everyday life is full of speaking chances?
Exactly. You don't need special events. Daily interactions build real fluency. Each short exchange reduces shyness little by little, and something important begins to happen. You stop seeing yourself as a learner hiding behind silence and start seeing yourself as a communicator living in English.
Nora, I've noticed something changing while we talk through these situations. Before, I believed confident English speakers were different people, but now it feels like confidence is something built step by step.
Yes, confidence is not a personality trait. It is a collection of small experiences repeated many times. Every conversation leaves a memory in your brain, and your brain slowly learns, I can handle this. Today, I want us to go deeper into real conversation flow because many shy learners don't struggle with starting conversations anymore. They struggle with keeping conversations alive.
Yes, that's exactly my problem. I can say hello, I can answer questions, but after a few minutes, I don't know what to say next.
That moment is very common. Conversation feels like a road that suddenly ends. So let's learn how to extend conversations naturally. There are three powerful techniques: expand, relate, redirect. Let's begin with expand. When someone answers a question, don't move to a completely new topic immediately. Instead, expand the current topic. Example, person says, I like hiking on weekends. Instead of changing topics, expand. Oh, nice. Where do you usually go hiking? Or do you prefer mountains or forests? You stay inside the same subject.
I think I change topics too quickly because I panic.
Yes, panic makes the brain jump, but calm conversation grows slowly. Now, the second technique, relate. You connect their story to your experience. Example, I like hiking on weekends. You respond, that's interesting. I don't hike often, but I enjoy walking in parks. You are not competing, you are sharing connection.
That feels more natural than asking endless questions.
Exactly. Conversation should feel balanced, not an interview. Now, the third technique, redirect. After discussing one topic long enough, you gently guide conversation somewhere new. You can say, speaking of weekends, what do you usually do after work? Or, that reminds me, do you enjoy traveling? These transition phrases help conversation continue smoothly.
I never realized conversations have structure like this.
Most people learn it unconsciously, but once you understand the pattern, speaking becomes much easier. Now, let's explore another emotional situation. You join a conversation late, people already know each other. They are laughing and sharing stories. You feel like an outsider.
Yes, I often stand quietly in those situations. I don't know how to enter.
Here's a gentle strategy. First, listen and smile. Then, wait for eye contact or a natural pause. Then, use an entry phrase like, sorry, I just joined. What are you talking about? This sentence is simple and socially acceptable everywhere. People usually welcome you immediately.
That feels surprisingly easy.
Yes, often the barrier exists only in our mind. Now, let's talk about confidence during misunderstandings. Sometimes you misunderstand humor or references. Everyone laughs and you don't understand why. What happens inside you?
I feel embarrassed and disconnected.
Instead of pretending, try honesty with lightness. You can say, I think I missed the joke, or can someone explain? I want to laugh too. People usually enjoy explaining, and you become part of the moment instead of outside it.
That sounds more relaxed than pretending.
Pretending creates distance. Curiosity creates connection. Now, I want to introduce something very important, emotional pacing. Shy learners often use too much mental energy early in conversation. They try to be perfect immediately. But confident speakers pace themselves. They start simple, they warm up slowly, they become more expressive over time.
So it's okay if my first sentences are basic?
More than okay. It's natural. Your brain needs adjustment time in another language. Now, let's explore deeper connection conversations. After basic small talk, many learners feel stuck. They don't know how to move beyond safe topics. Here are gentle, deeper questions. What do you enjoy most about your work? What inspired you to learn English? What do you like doing when you want to relax? These questions invite stories instead of short answers.
Stories make conversations feel more real.
Yes, stories create emotional bonding, and emotional bonding reduces shyness dramatically. Now, let's talk about energy balance. Some learners feel exhausted after speaking English socially.
That happens to me a lot. After social events, I feel mentally tired.
That is completely normal. Speaking another language uses more brain energy. Give yourself permission to rest afterward. Confidence grows faster when learning feels sustainable. You don't need long conversations every day. Even 5-minute conversations matter.
That removes a lot of pressure.
Good, because sustainable practice builds lasting confidence. Now, I want us to practice a longer real-life role play. Imagine you meet someone at a professional event. I'll begin again. Hi, I'm Nora.
Hi, Nora. I'm Miles. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Is this your first time attending this event?
Yes, it is. I was a little nervous coming here, actually.
That response is wonderful. You added honesty. Honesty invites warmth. Let's continue. Oh, really? What made you decide to come?
I wanted to meet new people and practice speaking English more.
Beautiful. You expressed purpose. Now conversation becomes meaningful. Notice how confidence grows not from perfect language, but from authentic sharing.
I feel like hiding my nervousness makes me more nervous.
Exactly. When you accept nervousness, it loses power. Many confident speakers still feel nervous. They simply continue speaking anyway. Now, let's discuss handling interruptions. Sometimes people interrupt you unintentionally. This can feel discouraging. Instead of withdrawing, gently re-enter. You can say, "Sorry, I'd like to finish my thought," or "Can I add something?" These phrases protect your voice respectfully.
I usually just stop talking.
And your ideas deserve space too. Communication is cooperation, not competition. Now, I want listeners to try a mindset shift. Instead of asking, "Do they like my English?" ask, "Am I connecting with this person?" Connection is your real goal. When connection becomes your focus, anxiety decreases.
I'm realizing confidence is more emotional than linguistic.
Yes, language ability matters, but emotional safety matters more. When you feel safe, your English improves automatically. Now, let's talk about humor. Many learners fear joking in English. They worry jokes will fail. But humor does not need to be clever. Simple, shared humor works. Examples: "This weather can't decide what it wants," or "I need more coffee before I can think." Light humor creates relaxed energy.
I like humor, but I'm afraid people won't understand me.
Start small. Smile when you say something playful. Tone communicates intention. Even simple humor builds confidence. Now, imagine another situation. You meet someone regularly, maybe a coworker or classmate. Repeated small conversations are powerful. Each interaction becomes easier because familiarity reduces fear. You can build continuity. "Last time you mentioned a trip. How was it?" Or, "How is your project going now?" Remembering details shows care. People feel valued when remembered.
That makes conversations feel deeper over time.
Yes, confidence grows fastest in repeated relationships. You begin recognizing patterns. Your brain stops seeing English conversation as unknown territory, and gradually, something beautiful happens. You stop preparing so much. You start responding naturally. Your personality begins appearing in English, not a translated version of you, but a living version of you.
That sounds like real freedom.
It is the moment when English stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like a space where you exist comfortably. And that moment comes closer with every small conversation you allow yourself to have.
Nora, listening to everything we've talked about today, I realized something. I used to believe confidence meant never feeling shy. But now I understand confidence means speaking even while feeling shy.
Yes, that realization changes everything.
Shyness is not an enemy you must defeat. It is simply a feeling that appears when something matters to you. You want connection. You want understanding. You want to belong in conversation. And that desire is beautiful.
I think many listeners waited for a day when fear disappears, but maybe that day never comes.
Fear becomes quieter, but it rarely disappears completely. Even experienced speakers feel nervous sometimes. The difference is this. Confident speakers no longer interpret nervousness as danger. They interpret it as energy that helps them connect. Today, I want us to slow down and reflect together. Think about your shy version of yourself from the past. Maybe you avoided speaking. Maybe you stayed silent in groups. Maybe you replayed conversations afterward with regret. That version of you was not weak. That version of you was learning. Every silent moment was observation. Every uncomfortable interaction was preparation. And now you are growing beyond that stage.
I like thinking of my past self as learning instead of failing.
Yes, language learning is not a straight line. Some days feel confident, some days feel difficult, but progress happens quietly. You begin understanding faster, you respond more naturally, you recover from mistakes more easily. And one day, you notice something surprising. You start conversations without overthinking.
I actually experienced that recently. I spoke to someone at a cafe without planning anything. Afterward, I realized I didn't panic.
That is a powerful milestone. Confidence often arrives quietly, not as a big moment, but as a small realization. I didn't feel afraid this time. Now, let's talk about maintaining confidence long term, because confidence is not something you achieve once. It is something you nurture. Here are gentle habits that help confidence grow continuously. First, speak regularly, not perfectly. Short conversations every day are more valuable than long conversations once a month. Even small interactions count. Ordering coffee, greeting a coworker, asking a simple question. Consistency teaches your brain that English belongs in your daily life.
So, everyday English is more important than special practice?
Exactly. Real communication builds real confidence. Second habit, celebrate small wins. After speaking, instead of focusing on mistakes, notice success. Maybe you understood more. Maybe you stayed calm. Maybe you smiled naturally. Each small success deserves recognition.
I rarely celebrate small wins. I usually focus on errors.
Many learners do, but confidence grows where attention goes. If you notice progress, motivation increases. Third habit, be kind to your speaking self. Your English-speaking self is brave. It takes courage to express thoughts in another language. Speak to yourself with encouragement, not criticism. Instead of saying, "My English is bad," try saying, "My English is improving." Language responds beautifully to patience.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room, you hear English conversations around you. Your heart feels calm. You smile. You say hello naturally. You listen without fear. You speak without waiting for perfection. You are still learning, but you are participating. You belong in the conversation.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room, you hear English conversations around you. Your heart feels calm. You smile. You say hello naturally. You listen without fear. You speak without waiting for perfection. You are still learning, but you are participating. You belong in the conversation.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room, you hear English conversations around you. Your heart feels calm. You smile. You say hello naturally. You listen without fear. You speak without waiting for perfection. You are still learning, but you are participating. You belong in the conversation.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room, you hear English conversations around you. Your heart feels calm. You smile. You say hello naturally. You listen without fear. You speak without waiting for perfection. You are still learning, but you are participating. You belong in the conversation.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room, you hear English conversations around you. Your heart feels calm. You smile. You say hello naturally. You listen without fear. You speak without waiting for perfection. You are still learning, but you are participating. You belong in the conversation.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room, you hear English conversations around you. Your heart feels calm. You smile. You say hello naturally. You listen without fear. You speak without waiting for perfection. You are still learning, but you are participating. You belong in the conversation.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room, you hear English conversations around you. Your heart feels calm. You smile. You say hello naturally. You listen without fear. You speak without waiting for perfection. You are still learning, but you are participating. You belong in the conversation.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room, you hear English conversations around you. Your heart feels calm. You smile. You say hello naturally. You listen without fear. You speak without waiting for perfection. You are still learning, but you are participating. You belong in the conversation.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room, you hear English conversations around you. Your heart feels calm. You smile. You say hello naturally. You listen without fear. You speak without waiting for perfection. You are still learning, but you are participating. You belong in the conversation.
I think learners forget to be patient with themselves.
Yes, we often expect fast results from something deeply human. Communication takes time because it involves identity, emotion, and connection. Now I want to guide listeners through a final visualization. Close your eyes for a moment if you can.